Okay, you got about 30 seconds left. Try to finish up. Natalie, will you be my MC today? Blackman,
Yes.
will you be my MC?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. Okay, time's up. All right, so hopefully you put a cap and an end, and the answer to that was what?
4.
Thank you, Tyra. Woo woo, good job. Okay, so if there isn't any further questions, I'm going to go ahead and go back into the kitchen math. And then Nali, will you tell me what slide I ended up on? I'm going to go to that. Give me 1 second to pull it up, and then I'll need you to help guide me. Okay, and then you guys should be pulling up your worksheet, which was on Google Classroom. So can you, Nolly, tell me what slide we ended up on? Or look at your worksheet, what group of questions did we end up, did we answer all? Blackman.
The worksheet you're talking about, are you talking about the kitchen math one?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. What am I calling it? Did I call it something weird?
Yes, you called it something different.
Okay, well, I meant to say kitchen math. Yes. So, do you have that worksheet then? And can you tell me what slide we ended up on? Like, was it slide 22 that you don't have answers for?
We ended up on 15.
Okay, thank you. I think, I had somebody remember that, I think.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you. Thank you, Ember. Made my day. My crazy day. Okay. Kitchen math number slide 15. Here we go. All right. So if you weren't here last week, we were doing a Google document in Google Classroom. And you basically are answering the questions as we go through. And this is how easy it is. You just have to fill it out as we go and participate, and we'll be good to go. Okay. So slide 15 is not one that I had us know anything about. Really? We only got to slide 15? Wow. Okay. Anyway, so I'll probably just recap this then. Basically, dry measuring cups, they're going to come in different amounts. You got your cup, your half cup, your third cup, and your quarter cup or fourth of a cup. And then when we have dry ingredients, trying to figure out where the heck we are. when you have your dry ingredients, you'll have things like flour, sugar, brown sugar, salt, powdered sugar, and then you know, you can measure the 1/4 cup or more in your dry measuring cups, and they come in the exact same sizes I just talked about. But then if you're going to measure something that's less than 1/4 of a cup, that's when your measuring spoons are going to come in. And so you have your 1/4, your 1/2, your 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon, and then you know, 1/8 of a teaspoon. Sometimes you'll have that, but sometimes you don't. And basically, if you needed 1/8 of a teaspoon, you would just measure 1/4 of a teaspoon and then take 1/2 of it out. Okay. The biggest issue that I see when we get back into kitchens is people that mix up the teaspoon for the tablespoon. And so, like, if we were doing something that called for a teaspoon of, let's say, baking powder or soda, and you put in a tablespoon, it can probably offset the taste a little bit. So you really want to be careful about those two for sure, just because those are easy to mess up. Always look for TSP versus TBSP, okay? And the tablespoon is the largest one, so that should be another good visual that should keep you on the straight and narrow when we do certain things. Okay, so here's just some helpful things, and when I do the demonstration, you'll see me do all these things, but when you measure flour, you don't pack it in, okay? You use a spoon to scoop it into the cup, and then you would use like the back of a butter knife. We do have metal spatulas in the kitchens that you can level it off, but you want to level it, okay? And I always say when you scoop with a spoon, always like make a mountain, like a little mountain, and then you can scrape it away. But if you almost try to be too perfect with it, you might have given yourself less than what is required. So always make it a little heaping and then level it off. For brown sugar, because it's a sugar that's got moisture in it, you're going to want to pack it in. I always use the example of like when you were little at the beach and you wanted to make a sandcastle, you would take your bucket and you'd go down by the water and not get the really wet sand, but not get the super dry sand. You would get the moist, and then you would put it in your pail, and then you'd go wherever you're going to go and dump it upside down, and then the pail would basically be there only in sand. So it's kind of the same premise. You do want to level it off again with a straight edge or a knife, whichever you prefer. But that's the one that you can actually pack in. Another kind of cool little thing is if you cook, I don't know if any of you cook at this point in your life, but if you ever make rice, rice is also very, you know, it has a lot of moisture to it. So you can put rice in a cup of any type and it'll take the shape. So if you were plating and you want to make the plate look nice, you could always, you know, mold the rice and then put whatever you're going to put on over the rice. It just kind of has a more professional look, and that's just a little trick of the trade. And then when you measure granulated sugar or just sugar in your terms, again, just spoon it in and then level it off. Okay. All right. So slide 18 is just what I want you to do is highlight the correct answer. So which one is greater and which one is, which one is greater? That's what I want to say. Oh, and anyone can unmic and answer these questions. So is a 1/2 of a cup or 3/4 cup larger? Which one's bigger?
1/2.
Nope. It's actually 3/4. And I'm going to give you guys some hints, okay? So I've mentioned, and I can never, you know, teaching all the time, you never remember what class you said this to. So I hope I didn't say this to you, but if I did, it's okay. It's a good review. But whenever I look at a 1/4 of a cup, a 1/2 a cup, 3/4 cup, or 1 cup, I look at it in terms of money. Okay. And when I learn, I have to associate it with things I already know to help me understand it. And sometimes that doesn't always work, but in this case it does. So like, for example, if I had a quarter, that is 1/4. So it's 1/4 out of 4, which makes $1, right? Okay. If I had a 1/2, okay, then that's 50 cents, 1/2 of that dollar. And then if I had 3/4, then I have 75 cents or 3/4 out of the 4. So that's 75 cents, 0.75, which in fraction term is 3/4. And then, you know, obviously 1 cup or $1. So if that shed a light bulb for anybody, I'm glad to provide it. But that's kind of how I look at it, or how I had to learn it for it to make sense for me. And hopefully that helps. So if you have 3/4 versus 2, obviously 3 is bigger than the 2. Okay. All right. Next one. If I had a 4th and a 3rd, which one's bigger?
A third.
Anybody? What was that? I'm sorry.
1/3.
Yep, that's correct. How about this one? If I had a 1/4 of a cup or 2 tablespoons, which one's bigger? Anybody?
2 tablespoons.
Nope, 1/4 of a cup. And this is where you guys on your worksheet should be highlighting the larger amount. So a 1/2 a cup versus a 1/4 of a cup. Which one's bigger?
1/2 cup.
1/2 cup. Very good. And then a 1/4 cup or 3 teaspoons. Which one's bigger? Hello, a 1/4 of a.
1/4.
Yep, thank you. And last one, 1 3/4 cup or 1 1/4 cup. Which one's bigger?
1 1/3.
Thank you. All right, excellent. Okay, so this next slide talks about measuring butter or margarine. And if you've never cooked before, or you know, have been involved in the kitchen at all, then you probably have never noticed on margarine or butter there's like a little ruler. And 1 stick of margarine or butter is equivalent to a 1/2 a cup. And some people confuse that because, you know, if I was to use common sense, which you can use it a lot of times, but in this case you can't, because if it was common sense that 1 stick equals 1 cup, that to me that's like common sense. But in this case, you can't use common sense because that is not the case. So 1 stick is a 1/2 a cup, or you could count out on the ruler 8 tablespoons. Okay. So you got to be careful when you read recipes, because some of them will say 1 stick, but some will say a 1/2 a cup. And if you don't remember that a 1/2 a cup is 1 stick, you may cut that margarine in half. Okay. And then that would be 4 tablespoons. It wouldn't be a 1/2 a cup, it'd be a 1/4 of a cup. So that's one that you kind of have to throw out common sense, because you can't use it in this case. And then when you measure solid fats like peanut butter and things like that, you're going to have to use the leveler, but then you'll have to use like a spatula to get it out of the cup measure. Little trick of the trade too is if you spray cooking spray in there before you put the peanut butter or Karo syrup or whatever you're putting in there that's gooey, it should slip right out once you have that spray in there. So that's just a little trick. Okay, measuring technique. So the reason I have this on your worksheet is because I was going to do a Flipgrid with it, but I haven't really had time to mess with Flipgrid. So what I wanted you to do and what you're going to do are 2 different things. So basically, I'm just going to show you this slide, but what I wanted you to do was to make a video showing me you measuring these things. But I haven't had a chance to mess with Flipgrid, so we're going to bypass this slide. So you can either highlight slide 20 in red or something, meaning we're not going to do it. You aren't held responsible for that. Okay, so don't worry about that one. Anything, Molly, in the chat that I need to know about?
Nope.
Okay, thanks. For a second there, I thought you were boycotting me, not answering my questions. Okay, thank you. All right, so on this chart, it's just showing how you can use different measurements to equal the larger amounts. So like, for example, if you didn't have a tablespoon, you could use 3 teaspoons to equal 1 tablespoon. If you didn't have if you didn't if you need to figure out the 3/4 teaspoon, you can do it one of two ways. You can do 1/4 teaspoon 3 times, or you can do a 1/2 teaspoon and a 1/4 of a teaspoon. Some people, they like it one or the other. So either you don't want to use 2 utensils, you just want to use 1, but you have to measure it 3 separate times, or you're going to use 2 utensils and only measure it twice. What's the lesser of 2 evils? That's up to you, okay? For an 1/8 of a teaspoon, we already talked about how you're going to measure a 1/4 of a teaspoon and then half it. And then if something called for an 1/8 of a cup, it would be 2 tablespoons would equal that amount. Okay, so this is just showing you how you can use other measurement forms to get the same amount. Okay, slide 22. Okay, did I want to do this? Yeah. Okay, so slide 22, I'm going to take back. See on your worksheet if you can answer the questions on slide 22. Just take like, I don't know, 30 seconds or something and see if you can't figure it out, because we've talked a little bit about this already. But let's see if you guys can't figure it out. You don't need to Google anything or talk to your phone. Just do it if you know it. Fill out as much as you can, and then I'm going to go over it. Okay, so just don't use Google. It's not necessary. Just let's see what you know. Take about 30 seconds to figure that out. Okay, so I don't know if you saw it, but a pinch or a dash, do you know how much that equals? Anybody? Like if you were to put a pinch of pepper into something, how would you tell me that equals a teaspoon? How much?
1/8.
Okay, so it's an 1/8 or less. Okay, I did on my worksheet, I just did a little negative symbol. 1 teaspoon equals how many teaspoons? I'm sorry, 1 tablespoon equals how many teaspoons? What do you guys have for that?
I have 3.
Excellent. 1/4 of a cup equals how many tablespoons? A 1/4 of a cup equals how many tablespoons?
2.
A little higher.
4.
Yep,
3.
excellent. 1/3 of a cup equals how many tablespoons plus a teaspoon? 1/3 of a cup equals how many tablespoons and what teaspoon?
Wait, was the last one 4 or 3? I heard 2 different people.
Yep, 1/4 of a cup for the last one equals 4 tablespoons. Anybody? Okay, so 1/3 of a cup equals 5 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon. What about a 1/2 a cup equals how many tablespoons? If a 1/4 of a cup equals 4 tablespoons, a 1/2 is going to be
8.
8. Thank you. And then 3/4 cup equals how many tablespoons?
12.
Thank you. And then the last one, 1 cup equals how many tablespoons? 16. If you, yep, thank you. Okay, very good. I'm going to move on, so I hope you got all those in, and you can abbreviate. Well, never mind, it's already on the worksheet that way. Okay, going to the next one. You're going to answer these following. Oh, sorry, that's slide 27. 23. To help you remember, so for example, 1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons. Just try to remember that teaspoon starts with TEA, and that's 3 letters. So 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. And then the other diagram is showing you that 1/4 cup equals 4 tablespoons. So a little image there that might help you remember. Okay, 24, basic equivalents. So this just goes through and shows you for ounces. So if you have 1 fluid ounce, that's 2 tablespoons. If you have 8 ounces, that's a cup, and 16 ounces is a pound. And then 1 pint is equal to 2 cups. 1 quart equals either 2 pints or 4 cups. And 1 gallon is either 4 quarts, 8 pints, or 16 cups. And there's a little visual on the next slide to help. Okay, so I am a visual learner, as I've said many times. And when I'm thinking of trying to figure this stuff out, I always have this diagram in my head. So it's a big G for gallon, and there's 4 Q's within that G that will fit. Okay, so 4 quarts in a gallon. Then in each quart, there are 2 pints. Okay. And in a pint, there's 2 cups. Okay. So you can kind of see if I looked at quart for cups, there's 4 cups in a quart, or 2 pints in a quart. You can kind of see that. Okay. And then you can count how many cups in a gallon. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 cups in a gallon. Okay. Or 8 pints, however you want to look at it. But this little diagram kind of helps you with a lot of things. So if you can use this as we progress through, that's going to help you a lot. Okay, so number 25. These are just examples, and I'm just going to run through them. So at the store, many foods are sold by pints or quarts. And recipes usually are by cups. So there's a discrepancy there. Because if the recipe that you're using calls for cups, but in the store it only comes in pints, how are you going to figure that out? Okay. So you would have to remember your little diagram that I just showed you. So 1 cup is equal to a 1/2 pint. Okay. Because if you go back and you look at sugars. If you go back to that diagram, it should show you the answer to that question. Okay, so 1 cup is a 1/2 pint. And then 2 cups is 1 pint. 4 cups, 2 pints. 4 cups equals 1 quart. And 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. Okay, so using that diagram before to kind of help with this, it makes it easy. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to do a little problem. Okay. The only way you can answer these questions is in one of 3 ways. It will either be a 1/2 pint, 1 pint, or 1 quart. Those are the only answers. So if I'm making a salad that calls for 2 cups of cottage cheese, would I need a 1/2 pint, 1 pint, or 1 quart? What is the answer?
One pint.
1 pint. Thank you. Excellent. Whoops. Okay, my next question. Okay, a recipe for a fruit dessert calls for 1 cup of whipping cream. So, is it a 1/2 pint, 1 pint, or 1 quart? What is the answer? A recipe for a fruit dessert calls for 1 cup of whipping cream. Do I buy a 1/2 pint, 1 pint, or 1 quart? What is it?
1/2 pint.
Thank you, a 1/2 pint. All right, next one. You need 4 cups of milk for pudding. What would I buy? Killian, what would I
1
buy? Oh, sorry, go ahead. What was the answer?
1 quart.
Yes. Nobody was answering me, so I was calling on people. Okay, next question. You need 2 cups of sour cream to make a dip. What am I going to buy? A quart, a pint, or a half a pint? Connor Lee.
1 pint.
Thank you. Okay, next one. A recipe for fruit salad says to mix 8 ounces of yogurt with fruit. What would I buy? 1 pint, a half a pint, or 1 quart?
Half a pint.
Half a pint. Excellent. Thank you. Good job. Okay. All right. So this is where you need to tell me what the answers are. I'm trying to figure out if this is going to tell me. Okay. So now that you know how many cups make up a half a pint, 1 pint, 1 quart, try to figure out how many ounces are in these amounts. All right. So how many ounces are in 1 cup? Ounces now. How many ounces in 1 cup?
8.
8. Excellent. How many ounces in a half a pint? Shane Carpenter, how many ounces in a half a pint? Give me your best guess.
Like 3, 4? I don't know.
Okay, no. Let's try Skylar. 1 pint equals how many ounces? Bowers. Skylar. Anybody want to help out? How about Zach? How many ounces in a half a pint? Isn't half a pint equal a cup? So how many ounces in a cup?
Isn't it 8?
It is 8. Thank you. Okay, what about 1 pint is equal to how many ounces? Let's go with Stephen S. How many ounces in 1 pint?
16.
Excellent. Nice job. Okay, what about 1 quart is equal to how many ounces? Let's go with Ben Hall.
You said how many? What is equivalent?
Yep.
I didn't hear you what you said. I was asking.
Okay, so hopefully you're doing your worksheet on slide 28. 1 quart is equal to how many ounces?
1 quart is equal to how many ounces?
Anybody want to help out here? Who knows the answer to this one?
32.
32. Nice job.
Dang,
And
I was getting there.
I know, but we got to move on there, mister. Okay, 1 gallon is equal to how many ounces? This one's a big one.
128.
Yes, nice job. Do you want to tell us how you figured that out?
I have a magnet that has measuring stuff on it.
Okay, does anyone did it mathematically?
32 times 4.
Okay, boom. All right, nice job. All right, so we're going to move on to slide 29 on your worksheet. Hopefully you're following along and getting all the answers, because that's how easy it is, people. All right, so here's your little pop quiz. See how well you do. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Dang it. There we go. Okay. This is your little quizzy. 1 pint is equal to how many cups? Just did this.
2.
Yes, excellent. Okay, 1 gallon is equal to how many quarts?
4.
Thank you. Oh gosh, there I go again. I keep thinking I have to hit something. Okay, 1 quart is equal to how many cups? Anyone?
4.
Thank you. And then 1 cup is equal to how many tablespoons? Anybody?
16.
Thank you. And then 1 tablespoon is equal to how many teaspoons? Anybody? 3. 3, 3, 3. All right, not too bad. All right. So now, this one is just kind of showing you how, again, you can use different cup measures to equal another set. So like, for example, if you were looking for 2/3 cup, you would want to measure out 1/3 and 1/3, which is 2/3. For a 3/4 of a cup, a half and a fourth you could measure, or you could do 3 1/4. For an 1/8 of a cup, it's half of a fourth of a cup. For 1 cup, a half and a half. You could also do 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. And for 1 cup, you could also do 1/4 of a cup 4 times. So how would you measure these amounts? So somebody tell me what utensils you would use to measure 1 and 1/4 cup. What utensils would you use? Let me call on someone. Kian, what would you use to measure that out? Adams? Kian Adams? Is he here? All right, let's go with Caden Reed. What would you use to measure that out?
A cup and a fourth.
You got it. And what would you use to measure 2/3? Kirsten.
1/3 and 1/3.
You got it. And then Andrew Hudson, what would you use to measure 3/4?
I'm here. My mic wasn't working.
You're what?
I'm here. My mic wasn't working.
Oh, who's here? Tell me who you are.
Keon.
1/4
Kian.
3 times.
Yes, excellent. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Thank you for letting me know, Kian. We'll catch you on the rebound on a different one. Okay. So I'm gonna go in just a second and put this in the Google Classroom because I forgot this is like a extension of the worksheet. So what I want you to do is to go in and I want you, well, you know what you guys could do right now on your worksheet is just write this. It says, okay, my MC is Nolly. So Nolly, do you see on your slide, on your worksheet where it says slide 31, this recipe is for chocolate chip cookies. It yields 3 dozen. You need to make 6 dozen. Write down the measurements you would use to double this recipe. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So since you all see that, what I'd like you to do in the lines provided is I want you to double this recipe, okay? So go ahead right now and change all of the measurements to double. And I'm going to give you 1.5 minutes to do that, okay? And you can abbreviate, just do teaspoon with a little t, do tablespoon with a big T, do a cup with just the C. That'll save you a lot of writing, okay? So take about 1.5 minutes to write this out, double it. And then I'm going to check back with you in 1.5 minutes. For about 30 seconds. Okay. I'm gonna sneeze. Phew. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay. So, is there anybody that feels really confident that they have all this right? Excuse me. Come on, we gotta have some brave souls out there.
Yes.
All right, cool. Who am I talking to?
Analia.
Oh, you know, I love you. All right, so here we go. If I was to double 2 1/4 cup, what would it be?
5 cups.
You got it. And if I was to double 3/4 cup of brown sugar, or if you look at it at 0.75, what would it be doubled?
A cup and 2/4.
And that can be simplified into so if you were to 2 can go into itself once, right? Sorry. And 4 can go into a 2 how many times? It would be 1.5. Do you see that, Nolly?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And then if you were to take a teaspoon of baking soda and double it, what would it be?
2 teaspoons.
Yep. What about the vanilla?
2 teaspoons.
What about the teaspoon of salt? What would that be? If I had 25 cents and 25 cents, what would that be?
2/4 or half.
Okay, so half. And then if I doubled eggs, what would I have?
4 eggs.
Nolly?
4 eggs.
Oh, what about the margarine?
2 cups.
And what about the chocolate chips?
4 cups.
And 3/4, so 0.75 plus 0.75 is
A cup and a half.
cup and a half. Good job. Nicely done. Okay, go to the next one. Now I'm asking you to half the recipe. So you're going to take everything and divide it in half. So take 1.5 minutes to turn that recipe into half. Time starts now. You got about 1 minute left. Who feels confident on this one? That thinks they can do it all the way through? Connor Lee, are you one that can do it?
I'm still writing.
Okay, well, I'm going to have you do it in 30 seconds.
All right.
Okay. Okay, let's see what you got, Connor. If you half 2 cups, what would you have?
1.
What about the baking soda? What would you have?
1 teaspoon.
Okay, what about butter?
1/4 cup.
Yes. Yep, that's right. And then what about the chocolate square?
1 chocolate square.
What about the egg?
1 egg.
Teaspoon of, what about the teaspoon of salt?
1/4.
Yep. What about the buttermilk?
Half.
What about the cake flour? Or no, I'm sorry, the, what is it? Warm water.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so if I had what measurement plus what measurement would equal 2/3? Do you know that? So if you had a third and a third, that would be 2/3, and half of that
Yeah.
would be a third. So it
So
should be a third of a cup of warm water. And then if I had 2.5 cups of cake flour, what would half of that be? So $2.50, what would half of that be?
One. 150. Wait. 25.
That's right. So it would be 1 1/4.
Half. Yeah.
Yep. So you're right. Yep. You got it. It is, yeah. And then what about the vanilla then? Half that.
Half teaspoon.
Awesome. Nicely done. Thank you. All right. See how easy that was? Okay. All right. So here's just talking about what is half of 2/3, which is the one that we just were talking about with Connor, about a third and a third is 2/3. So half of 2/3 would be a third. Remember, if the recipe calls for an egg and wants you to half it, you would just crack the egg, whip it up, and then you would figure out how much it measures and then do half of it. You could also resort to 1 large egg as 1/4 of a cup. And so you could do 1/8 of a cup as being half, or you could pour out approximately half or 2 tablespoons. I've never in my lifetime seen a recipe that calls for half an egg, but I know if they exist. I just have never come across one. So I don't know. We'll wait to see. I mean, hopefully I got some years on me yet. Maybe I'll come across it. Okay, so this is a little story problem, and I can't say that I was a fan of story problems in elementary school, and that seems to be where you did most story problems, but maybe you guys still do them in high school. But here's a little story problem. So Jenny's throwing a surprise birthday party for her best friend, Katie. She has decided to make Katie's favorite dish, meatloaf. There will be a total of 40 people at the party. Answer the following question. So we'll just see what you guys can do for me. If this recipe says it serves 8 people, by what number should Jenny multiply each ingredient to make enough meatloaf for everyone? What do you think? Math people, what should she multiply
By
each
5.
ingredient? By 5. 8 times 5 is 40. Thank you. The recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of ground beef. How much ground beef will Jenny need to make enough meatloaf for everyone? Any math mind out there that would like to answer that?
7.5.
What was it? I didn't hear you.
7.5.
7.5. Nicely done. Do you want to tell us how you worked that out?
I just put 1 times 5 would be 5, and then I just put half, so I know if I do half by an even number, it'll take out a normal number, and then I just put the extra half in.
Okay. And then Jenny will be serving milk with the meal. She plans on using 8-ounce glasses, which is 1 cup as we know it. So how many gallons of milk does she need to make sure everyone gets 1 glass of milk? So figure that one out and then tell me how you did it. Anybody out there know the answer? How many gallons of milk do I need?
1.
No, I need a little more than 1.
Is it 320?
I need it in gallons though. You're on the right track, but I need to know how many gallons I need to buy. because milk isn't sold by ounces, it's sold by gallons. These are exactly the problems I have to deal with when I'm buying food for our nutrition classes. How many classes do I have? How many students?
You have to
How
buy 3
many?
gallons?
What was it?
3?
You don't want to round it. It's
2.5.
2.5, yep. So I would need 2.5 gallons to make sure I had enough for 40 people. Yes, excellent. Okay, so because of what time it is, I want you to finish this. And I'm going to talk briefly about the other assignment because I want you to get started on it. So you're to finish the rest of the, it's just like a little quiz. Okay, so you need to finish that. Okay, so this is your assignment. It's due next Monday. You can pick one of the 3. You can create a worksheet of math word problems based on kitchen measurements. Okay, you be sure to create an answer key. Yeah. You're not going to trade with anybody, but I do need to see problems and the answers, okay? And you're going to do them with, the different type of measurements that we just went through. Or you can create new recipe cards that double and cut in half a favorite recipe. So you have to provide me with the recipe and then half it and double it. And you could do that on a Google slide. That'd be pretty easy. Or you can create an easy to read poster, which again, use Google Slides, or use a document as like your poster of common abbreviations and basic equivalents. So be sure to include visuals and display accurate information. So like, for example, like a cheat sheet, like someone was like, I have a magnet. Okay, so make a cheat sheet like the magnet you have at home on like a document or a Google slide. Okay, and you only have to choose one, but this is due next Monday. And I believe I had it due right before class starts. Okay, so it's got to be turned in. You'll have to check that on your Google Classroom. I put in so many due dates, I can't even keep my head on straight. So double check the due date on that. Whatever it says, I'll honor. But any questions, you can stick around and ask me. But we are out at 1:25, and I just want to make sure I got this out to you. And I believe it's in Google Classroom as we speak. I'll double check. Yep, it's called Applying What You Know Project. Okay, the kitchen math is due by the end of today at 11:59 tonight. If you have it done, turn it in, for God's sakes. Get your 50 points. Do not wait until it's half credit. That's not going to work. Okay? All right, so any questions? Otherwise, hasta la vista. I'll see you Wednesday. Aiden and Caitlin, or Kathy, any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Aiden, did you just show? Okay, there we go.